What's up? What's up, everybody? Summoners War 6.0 is almost upon us. Actually, I thought by the time that this video is going live, I thought we would actually have update 6.0 already out. If you guys don't know, there was Summoners War Summoners War Europe YouTube channel did a video saying that it would be out in July. I mean, it's the end of July, so I don't know if they had to push it back or whatnot, but I really thought it was gonna actually be out, like, just come out, like, so that this video right now that you're seeing would actually be like the first video on the new update, but it wasn't here yet. It was, but yeah, the Summoners War Europe YouTube channel. It was in German though, so it wasn't in English. It was in German. But they did a video saying it would be out, and even that it might already have been out by the time that they posted that video. So it was already supposed to come out or be out like right now. But I don't know if they had to push it back a little bit. But anyway, that was the game plan there. So it's not quite out yet, but it's going to be out very soon. So I thought today we would take a look at some monsters that, based on the skills of some of the new dungeons, and we'll refresh like a little info about the new dungeons, but some monsters that aren't quite relevant right now that may, when this new update comes out, actually be very useful. Maybe not for speedrunning the like end game speedruns, but for like early to mid game players to complete some of these dungeons. Some of these monsters that we don't really use, we don't really talk about too much, may actually be relevant in some of these dungeons. Before we get things started, I just want to give a shout out and credit. I used a picture a couple of videos ago of Leo and Ragdoll fighting. I used a picture in that video. I just wanted to give credit to the artist. Cute11 is the artist of that super awesome artwork. I didn't even know who it was at the time that it did the video, and it wasn't even supposed to be in the video. It was supposed to be a placeholder for like the intro of a slideshow, and I wound up just using it. But anyway, I just want that. I meant no disrespect by not crediting the artist. Cute11 is the artist. Just wanted to say that, and let's get back to the video. Okay, boss skills recap time. First boss, Steel Fortress. He does a little bit of CC with the first and second skills, and then he has two passives which are going to keep buffing him with various beneficial effects. He's going to have a shield, he's going to have a defense buff, he's going to have a crit buff, and he's going to have an attack power buff. So he's got the Steel Fist, attacks all enemies, decrease attack speed for 2 turns, and then the Thunder Blow attacks the enemy target 3 times and decreases the attack bar by 30%. Each enemy will be stunned for 2 turns if the enemy's attack bar becomes 0. Now this one you can use like Fran Lauren on. That's not a bad thing to use Fran Lauren. He will still get turns with the Thunderbolt passive, but it's not like the other one. The other one is like you cannot decrease their attack gauge, which is potentially a problem, right? If you're trying to use Fran and Lauren, which a lot of us are like, yeah, let's use Fran and Lauren. Oh, nope. So, alright, Thunderbolt passive, whenever the enemy's 5th turn ends, attacks a random enemy with a Thunderbolt, attacks up to 4 times in proportion to the boss's attack power, so attack break is going to be really nice on him. The attack will never land as a glancing hit, stuns the enemy with a 25% chance for beneficial effect granted on the boss, so we're going to make sure those beneficial effects are not on the boss. Stuns the enemy for 2 turns when the boss lands a critical hit, so maybe crit resist might be a good idea too. But he does have a crit buff that is applied to him. So we want to make sure that he doesn't get the crit buff, and we want to try to maybe consider crit resist on our team as well. He can't land a glancing, but that doesn't, like, glancing is not the same as not critting, right? So there's glancing hit, there's regular hit, there's crushing hit, there's critical hit. So, anyway, increase the boss. Steel will increase the boss attack power and crit rate for 1 turn when each turn begins, and grants a shield equivalent to 10% of the boss's HP, an increased defense effect on the boss for 1 turn when the boss is attacked by the enemy. So he's just going to keep getting these buffs regardless. Additionally, the damage received by the enemy is decreased by 20% per beneficial effect granted on the boss. So, all those extra buffs, that's going to be a huge amount of damage mitigation for that boss. If he's got all his buffs up, you're not going to be able to do any damage to him, which can be a problem. Can be a problem. Even if you try to use things that ignore beneficial effects on him, he's still going to have that damage received decreased regardless, right? So, because that's part of his passive. It's going to go through, like, for example, things that ignore like the shield and defense, because some units ignore the shield and the defense. Like, for example, Leica skill 2, We'll ignore those, but it's still going to mitigate the damage based on them having the beneficial effects. Anyway, or at least that's how it should work. Let's take a look at some units that are going to be pretty, or potentially pretty beneficial in this dungeon. You didn't expect me to say Argon, did you? Argon, the Wind Vampire, a unit that has basically fallen off the face of the planet now that we have things like Crow and the Wind Cat and other things that do a lot of damage based on enemy harmful effects. However, Argon does bring something different to the table. He's got the same first skill as the other vampires. Not that exciting. The second skill is why I think Argon is going to be very beneficial. Or rather, not beneficial, because the enemy's not going to have any beneficial effects if they are blocked. Attacks and weakens the enemy's attack power, which I said, did I say that we should be attack power breaking the boss in that? I mean, that's a pretty good idea for a lot of dungeons, attack power break the boss. Attack power break and attack speed break, which means his turns are going to be limited. He's not going to get as many turns. Target won't be granted with beneficial effects for 2 turns, with a 75% chance, goes up to 100%, and a 3-turn cooldown when it is maxed. So that's 4 beneficial effects you don't have to worry about. You don't have to worry about the crit resist. You don't have to worry about the attack power buff, the shield, or the defense buff. And then you also don't have to worry about that extra damage mitigation as part of the passive when those skills are applied. And then he has the slow, which means he's going to take less turns. And he has the attack power break, which means you're going to take you're going to be able to take less damage from him. And then he also has this fatal blow, increases by 25% for each harmful effect enemy. It does a lot of damage. However, it's one of those situations like Crow came out and it's just like element neutral Argon. Why do you need Argon? Now Argon is useful. Now this is going to be a unit that's potentially useful. Maybe if for endgame speedrunners, they may not really have any problems with that. We'll see after it comes out. They may be able to just speedrun without any block beneficial effects or things like that. But the Argon does look like, for maybe early to mid-game players, a valid unit based on speed break, attack power break, and beneficial effect block. Very, very solid for dungeon. But we can't talk about Argon unless we're also going to talk about the Dark Vampire Lord Irgar. He's got the same first skill, of course. He's got the same second skill, the weakened second skill. That's really what it's all about, is that weakened second skill. And then we also have, which may make him even more useful, the attack power leader skill. Attack power leader skill in dungeons, people are already using it, right? Everyone has him, unless they fed him. You guys, did you feed him? Maybe you fed him? And then he has the attack power buff on here and the heal. So, nice. This is going to be... You guys didn't feed Dark Vampire Lord, right? Well, you could just get him again from the shop. Never mind. You can get pieces again eventually from the shop because you can get, even if you did feed him. But yeah, for the same reasons that Argon is good, Irgar is potentially better, maybe even run both of them. Double Lucian, double Lucian, Lauren, and double Vampire. Vampire Lord and Vampire. Just to make sure you get it, all those beneficial effect blocks. Or maybe even like a single Lucian. And then, you know, I feel like that might actually just be a valid team. Like a pretty decent team for that dungeon. Here's another one. She has beneficial effect block, but I don't think that she's really going to be as useful as I would like her to be. At first glance, I'm like, she's got beneficial effect block. Maybe now we have a reason to build Nisha. However, and she also has, this is not bad. This is not bad for transfer harmful effects like the stuns to the boss. But this one, attacks all enemies to shorten the time of beneficial effects granted on them by 1 turn each. If the enemy doesn't have any beneficial effect, prevents the enemy from gaining beneficial effects. I wish this was just a beneficial effect block, regardless of strip or beneficial effect block, because if he already has something on him, this is not going to beneficial effect block anything. So, I don't think this is actually going to be as useful as I would like to be. I'll still test her out. I have her built on one of those accounts. I don't know which account. Maybe the one that we're currently on, I think I have built. So, of course, we're going to test her out. We're going to see if she's actually viable, but I don't think she's going to be as viable as, like, the Vampire. Another sleeper, another one. We look at it, we're like, I'm going to put him in storage. What am I going to do with you? He needs a buff, right? He needs a buff. Brig needs a buff, except that he's got this block beneficial effects here. So he's got a defense break, he's got attack age pushback, and he's got a block beneficial effects, and an attack power break and a defense break too. So for the same reasons, he's kind of actually similar to the vampire for the same reasons, block beneficial effects, which is much more useful in this new dungeon than it was before. He also has element advantage. Not that it really meant. Well, the dungeon is a wind dungeon, so he's a light, so he's element neutral, not element advantage. But yeah, another one: attack break, defense break, attack age pushback, and block beneficial effects. Another one we haven't really been talking about too much. Actually, Zinc is still a pretty good unit. He's got double AoEs. He's got several different debuffs. So Zinc has a slow here. I mean, you're not going to be able to stun the boss, but he has a slow. He's got an AoE defense break here, which is potentially not bad for clearing the waves, maybe. And then we have attacks all enemies 3 times each, dealing damage proportion to your defense. Each attack has a 50% chance to reduce attack power and block beneficial effects for 2 turns. Not that bad. AoE, attack power break, speed break, defense break, block beneficial effects. It's 4 different debuffs. I don't know why I did this. It's 4. It's 4 different debuffs. I think he'll be actually pretty decent in this dungeon. Again, more block beneficial effects. We'll see. Maybe we just wind up going like, all fire Nagamis. Everyone's just gonna be like, fire Nagamis. No, Brega, that's you that's gonna do fire Nagami. Shh, I know. I know. That's the first thing we're gonna try. If 4 fire Nagamis doesn't work, then we'll build an actual team. But I think these block beneficial effects, because I'm just trying to think of it from a developer standpoint. Like, if people are saying these units need buffs, maybe we build a dungeon that these units are going to shine in, and therefore we don't have to buff these units, we don't have to change these units, we just make them shine somewhere, right? Instead of being like, oh, just build the same units. They want to have people build other units that aren't the same unit that we're already using for dungeons. So that's the goal. Who knows if it's actually gonna come to fruition like that, but that's at least the game plan. Boss skills recap number 2, Punisher's Crypt. So the Punisher's Crypt, basically, he does a lot of attack gauge reduction. Why do I have to say it like that? That's weird. He does a lot of attack gauge reduction to your team, and he does damage and extra crazy things based on his speed. Let's take a look. Attacks all enemies, decreases the attack bar by 30% each. Conviction attacks the enemy target 7 times, absorbs the attack bar by 20% each. That seems scary. 20% each and 7 times. So he's going to basically give himself full attack gauge. That's fantastic. I can't wait for that. So we can still use immunity there, though, right? And then Punisher's Sword passive, the skill be enhanced as follows when the Ancient Punisher gets the designated turn. 5th turn, Dance of Sword, number of attacks will be increased up to 3 times according to attack speed. 10th turn, damage will be increased up to 100% according to the attack speed. Fantastic. 15th turn, all attacks will ignore the enemy's defense up to 100% according to the attack speed. Fantastic. And then he's got the Reverser passive. The damage received from the enemy will be decreased up to 70% according to the attack speed. Additionally, gains a turn instantly when the boss is granted with a decrease attack bar effect. So we want to make sure he doesn't have a lot of attack speed. So definitely slows are going to be nice. He does a lot of absorb attack gauge. So immunity, right? There should be nothing to strip. So decrease attack gauge and absorb attack gauge. He can't do that if your team is immune, right? And then also, there's a lot of ignore defense up to 100%. It seems very, very painful. And then you can't use Fran and Lauren here. That's kind of the thing. You can't use Fran. You can't use Lauren. You can do attack gauge. You can do speed break, but you don't want to use things that attack gauge reduce with the speed break as well, which is, like I said, Lauren, like Hua, the Fire Rakshasa, as well. I know a lot of people build Hua. And Lauren, and Fran even does attack gauge reduction with skill 1. So you want to try to not use those Fran Laurens. Again, Comto is trying to tell us, like, build other monsters. We don't want you just using the same monsters for every dungeon all the time. That's their goal with this as a developer. So they're like, so we got to think about it like, okay, what do they want us to use? Maybe we should consider the things that they're trying to get us to use for this. So, right, no Fran, no Lauren. No attack gauge decrease. What kind of fun things could we use for a unit or for a boss that's trying to control our team? So we talked about needing immunity without being able to use Fran because of her attack gauge reduction. However, Delphi has 2-turn immunity, no attack gauge reduction, and She also has a slow with skill 1. So she's got the slow here, she's got the mind shock here, which is not really too relevant. And then she's got the remove harmful effects on allies, grants immunity, and recover 30% of their HP. Potentially a unit that looks pretty good for, like, I mean, of course, not for speed running things, but for early to mid game. This seems like a pretty decent choice, right? You got the immunity and you got the speed break, which are two things that you want. Now we're entering the territory of, let's see if Bagel builds this and then if it's good or not, because I don't know how I feel about building Windy. I'll take the bullet. I'll build this first. I'll see if he's anything viable for this dungeon. But if the boss is going to attack gauge absorb and decrease attack gauge on us, then this shield, every time you're attacked, could be beneficial, right? Only activates once a turn. And then we have this, maybe even on revenge, decrease the attack speed. Could be, maybe, something potentially for here. Maybe. We'll see. Because it's all about speed. We want to decrease the boss's attack speed. And he already gets a shield. But I really don't like I really don't like Windy. But I think maybe. Again, let me take the bullet on that one. I'll build him. It's much easier for me to build something with my resources than for you guys to be like, let's all build Windy. Please don't all build Windy, please. Please, he's probably crap, but I need to know. So I was initially thinking Dusky, but I just think based on the skills, a lot of attack gauge decrease, a lot of attack gauge absorb, that Windy might actually be better than Dusky. Again, please let me do it first, and we'll see. And we'll see how painful it is. It's probably going to be painful. But some of these guys on like full revenge might be pretty decent, right? So some of these guys on full revenge, I was just thinking Windy seemed the most appealing based on, I mean, well, I got a few of them built. I don't have Windy built. I don't really want to build Windy. But we might have to build Windy just to try, just to see. Another weird one, not sure how this is going to work, but he does have speed break here. He does have multi-hit defense break, and he does also have this shield, which can potentially, like if he has the shield, the boss attacks him, the boss is going to get slowed over here. So him with revenge and him with the shield, the boss is going to have a consistent slow. That's kind of what I'm thinking here is, like, we want to have consistent slows on the boss, and we want to counter the fact that the boss is going to be getting a lot of turns and doing a lot of nonsense, and we kind of looking for passives and revenges. Is kind of passives, revenges, and slows is kind of what I'm thinking about. I'm kind of starting to feel flashbacks to like old school Necro. Isilin, the Dark Elven Ranger. So one of the nice things about Isilin for the dungeon, why am I, like, it's crazy to me that I'm even looking at some of these units where I'm like, these units are not units that I want to use. And then I'm like, I look at the dungeon mechanics, I'm like, if they're gonna keep decreasing attack gauge and CCing us, we need to kind of cut in and steal turns and slow him down. So cutting in and stealing turns and slowing him down, these units can actually, like the Fuko might be decent. The Windy might be, well, the Windy's got a shield. It's kind of different. I don't know how I feel about the Windy. I'm kind of like iffy, more on the line of like maybe trying to find a use for Windy, but probably not going to be that great. But I kind of want an excuse to like try him. I don't know. It's a bad idea. I know it's a bad idea. Anyway, Isilin. So one of the nice things about Isilin is when the boss starts to attack your team, he's got this supportive fire passive, lays down supportive fire for allies under attack 3 times. Supportive fire deals damage based on your attack power to enemies that attack your allies. And then he also has a slow on the first skill. He's also easy to skill up. But yeah, one of the nice things about Isilin, I'm like, hey, I finally used this Elven Ranger. How nice. How nice. I think I have 2 of him, actually. Talk about amazing LD pulls. Bagel, you also have some really amazing LD pulls. Shh. We don't have to think about those. We forget about those. Right. But just passively attacks and slows. For the same reason some of these units are good for Necro, I feel like the slow is going to be really, really solid for this dungeon. And I'm excited to see, like, if some of these units are actually going to be good, or if it's just my imagination, or if we just use a bunch of Lucians and Twins and Fire Nagamis like usual, and Comp to us is like, oh, they didn't do the things that we wanted them to do. right? So anyway, I think this unit might be pretty decent. The same reason we use Vert in RTA against aggressive control comps, this could also be a thing for this dungeon. Remember, we can't use attack gauge decrease, but it doesn't mean we can't increase our own attack gauge over and over and over and over and over again. So if we have a slow on the boss and we keep turn cycling with Vertiheal, it could just be a situation where we just use like some of the old Vertiheal comps, some of the old Necropolis comps, and stick them in there and be like, oh, as long as they don't have attack gauge reduction, they have turn cycling, they have slow on the boss, slow on the towers. I mean, we can't use Lauren Fran's Spectra, but we can potentially use some of these things that help us turn cycle. Maybe even Bernard, right? Because he helps turn cycle for the same reason Vertiheal does, right? A lot of turn cycling, and it's a light dungeon, so either one of them could be definitely viable. And last but not least, something to at least think about is Leo. Now, the boss does damage based on his attack speed, so I'm curious how this is going to work with the interaction between Leo and if we have a slow on the boss, and could this potentially just be a cheat code, make the boss into like a little kitten, like do no damage or anything if we have Leo in the mix? I'm not sure. Of course, the dungeon hasn't come out yet, so I can't really test it to see if it's potentially, because I know people love to use Leo in those speed limit stages in Labyrinth. So I'm kind of curious, because it's kind of a cheat code there, right? So I'm kind of curious if that's going to be the same kind of interaction with this new dungeon. If you can use Leo and he's going to be like super OP and he's kind of just like, oh, just use Leo. If you have Leo, that's what you want to use in the dungeon because he makes it super easy. I don't know. Again, food for thought, things to think about. I think some other units like for early to mid game, not like end game, but like early to mid game stuff is like if you have immunity, that's going to be really nice. Like if you have like Velidual might be pretty decent, right? Because he's got attack gauge increase, plus he's got the immunity, so you don't have to worry about the attack gauge absorbed from the boss or the attack gauge reduction from the boss. Maybe just things to think about. I was looking at different things that have counters too, and then I was like, do we really want to do that? But I think the Leo interaction could be kind of interesting. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I think some of these things, I'm really excited about the vampires, though. I think that the Argon and I think the Irgar, the Vampire Lord, are probably going to be pretty good in that dungeon at the very least. But of course, we'll play with a whole bunch of different things and see how they work and ultimately come up with different teams. And of course, it's probably just going to be like, just use Lucian and a bunch of Fire Nagamis. Oh, again? Oh, okay. Right. I guess we'll just use Lucian and a bunch of Fire Nagamis. Bagel, that's your fault. Okay, Listen, all right, guys. Anyway, that's it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully, by the time the next video comes out, the update is in the game and we can start pumping out some videos on the new content. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. That's it for this one. I will see you as always in the next one.